That the motion be agreed to.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Parakura Horomia.
Mr. Speaker, e mihi kaina ia koe e noha tu i roto te tūru rā e mau awhi mō te pō nei, kua tai atu tātou i te whakawhitiwhiti kōrero mō te tīmata a tēnei kreme mō rātou o Maraeroa. E mihi atu kia tariana e tuku atu te pere nei i roto te wharemiere. E whakahoki atu o ku whakaaro ki wera tau e tai atu au i reire ki tō rātou wāhi e kite atu te nui o te ngahere, e kite atu te nui o te harakeke. E nā te tino reka reka i roti āku e tai atu i reira e kite atu rātou e whai kaha a muri a ngā tuku e waiho atu ngā me pakeke o rātou. E tikatu i te tautoko i te mihi atu ki wēnei kai whakahaere a Piripi Crown and Glenn Katu, Brian Stanley, Deborah Maxwell, Tutahanga Maxwell, Edward Morna and Thomas Tufāngai. Nā te mea i rochi āku e mihi kaina ki a rātou, me ngā mea pakeke e kore e ora. Rātou e tīmata tu te take nei. E whakaaro atu mō te kōrero a tariana mō rātou, ahakoa e tū atu rātou a muri a te haki o Maraeroa, a te nui o rātou he iwi ke he iwi ke. Wetahi no Ngāti Rereahu, wetahi ngā Ngāti Maniapoto, Ngāti Tūwhareto Raukawa, me wetahi o ngā iwi. Nā te tino take i roti āku, e tino wāhi tapu te wāhi nei o Maraeroa, e nui atu ngā mahi o ngā karaua kuia, e mohi atu te mahi o te ākohatu. Nā te pai hoki e tai atu tātou i reira, e kita atu rātou David. E whai kaha mō te mahi umanga, te mahi Pākihi. Nō reira mihi atu kia rātou. As my learned colleagues said earlier on, Mr. Speaker, this settlement is non-comprehensive and settles claims to the Maraeroa A and B blocks. The beneficiaries, as was already pointed out, are those who are descendants of the original owners of Maraeroa A and B. And it is interesting that they include members of Tūwharetoa, Ngāti Maniapoto Rereahu and Ngāti Raukawa. And it's a blend that has learned to mould together. And I think if you go there today and witness the effort that they undertake in relation to their commerciality and making sure that their assets are used for their people, I think they're a great example for other Māori iwi and tribes to follow and look down. And that we have coupled these two, the private bill and the government bill together, will bring it expediency and we will get through it. And the claims that arise largely from the introduction of the operation of the native land laws. And it's fascinating when you study these whānau, iwi and hapu, who at some stage have had a principal direction from the Native Land Court, is that it all seemed to go askew. And what they did have was large tracts of commercial native timber. And a lot of that was milled, but they never saw the financial benefit of that. And it's important to understand that they've sort of followed through. If you have a look at their forestry operation, they own the forestry truck companies, they own the forestry groups that export it, and it is really a lesson, an exercise in how, joined together, you can make best use. Provision for a partnership of agreement between DOC and the settlement entity in respect of public conservation land and Wāhi Tapu with Maraeroa A and B are important in this bill. I think one of the things that's always I've been taken with dealing with Maraeroa, Mr. Chair, is that they're quite an elegant people and they really are true environmentalists, the majority of them. And I can recall going up there when they were opening their supposed international operation in relation to preservation of the harakeke flax and native plant species to ensure that they didn't slide away. And I think it's important to point out that as much as these descendants of the original owners of Maraeroa A and B are identified in this order, that it needs to be recognised that they have got through and toiled away and brought themselves into and order, which I think is the envy of a whole lot of other Māori organisations. That's not saying that they were unpronounced in relation to the struggles and the poverty inflicted on them by the Crown's nonsense of that time. The claims of the descendants of the original owners of the Maraeroa A and B blocks, like I said, relate primarily to the operation of the Native Land Court. Part 1 of this bill sets out the purpose of this Act, and it's important to understand that they already have a construct that's in the Incorporation, and the other part of developing a construction which will take the settlement assets and proceeds and ensure that they pass on and that they go to where they should go to. It specifies that the Act binds the Crown, and I think the better part of it is that the statutory acknowledgements of the 12 culturally significant sites and overlay classification of Pureora or Kahu, and 2 geographic name changes, Manga Koka Kotaia Stream and Manga Paruhau Stream. I think it's great. I think a lot of these overburdened English name streets need to be changed, and so you might be able to do a bit more, Minister. But look, we join with the Minister lodging this into the House, and we are certainly supportive and encouraged by getting Maraeroa and its claims through. Kia ora.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker.